Fagan, who I think even now I've got a bit of a smile talking about him because he was such an understated character, wasn't he?
He was, and similar to Bob Paisley in a way. I remember interviewing Graham Souness around the time it was the anniversary of the Rome final in '84, and he was saying that everyone loved Joe. But people were sort of slightly wary of Bob because Bob had a bit of more of a ruthless streak, perhaps, as a manager. But Joe was just a lovely guy, and everyone loved him, And of course, it was that boot room philosophy that carried him through. So when Bob Paisley retired, it was Joe Fagan who took over, and in his first season won a treble, which is incredible: European Cup, League Championship, and League Cup. And yeah, he was. I mean, it was before my time working, so I remember, watching. I never got to. I don't think I ever met Joe Fagan actually, or certainly not interviewed him. But when you listen back to interviews, there's a funny one after the European Cup final in Rome when he's talking about the fact that just before they went to Rome, they had a penalty practice, and the pros against the kids, and the kids won 6-2 or something, because Liverpool won on penalties. So he was laughing about that. But again, Graham Souness tells a story about being in the dressing room in Rome before the game against Roma, and Graham was telling this story, and Joe was going through the Roma side, and he said, "Yeah, these are a good side. These are a really good side. They're in the final of the European Cup. Really good side. They're not as good as you. Now get out there and beat them."
Yeah.
And that was the kind of level of but great man management, I suppose.
I think it was also Souness who said that when he signed for Liverpool, obviously Bob Paisley was the manager at that point, but Joe Fagan was his assistant. And I think Souness said to Joe Fagan, "So what exactly do you want me to do in this game? What's the tactic for this game? Where do you want me to position myself?" Whatever it was. And Joe Fagan says, "We've just spent X amount of money on you. If you don't know where you're meant to be, you're not right for this club." And that was the kind of philosophy, wasn't he? He didn't take over. I think he was 62, was he, when he took the job?
Yeah,
something like early 60s.
So kind of just to sort of liken it to someone today, similar age to what David Moyes is now, then to take over at Everton.
But obviously Joe Fagan had never been a manager.
Yeah.
And I think was really, really reluctant to take the job. But I think with Joe Fagan, he kind of gets missed off a little bit. We were talking about this in the pub the other day. The flag that they've got on the Kop, and it's got all the managers who've won the league or the European Cup, the Champions League. And someone said, "Oh, Joe Fagan's not on it." And I said, "No, he is. But people just forget about him," sort of thing, really.
Do you think that's because he was so close in terms of the time frame to other real managerial giants that he kind of, because he's not quite seen as thought of as highly as those, that maybe he just sort of goes under the radar?
Possibly because he was only there for 2 seasons as manager as well. Although, of course, the following season was a terrible tragedy. The Heysel, and there's terrible. That was the footage of him coming off the plane in tears. What an awful way to end your career as manager. But when you think about it, had that not happened, and let's say Liverpool had won the European Cup, what might things have changed? Kenny Dalglish was waiting to take over as player manager, so who knows? It all lifts and butts, obviously, but it was a sad end to a fantastic short spell, and second in the league as well to Everton, runners up, and the European Cup runners up as well in his second season. So when you take that all into context as 2 seasons, it was quite incredible, really, what he achieved.
It was. That's Joe Fagan.